the Saturday morning's Traders Helping Traders session. THT is a series by traders who use Apex Investing Trading Systems by Daryl Martin. Guys, to see how we apply these systems and tools provided by Apex every day in our own trading. And I probably should mention the usual disclosures, involves risks, and is not suited for everyone. Today we're going to talk about 5-minute and 20-minute binaries, and I want to know what questions you guys have and give you a few tips and tricks and a little bit more information. I hope you guys have had a chance to play with it now that you've had it for about a week. So I thought this would be a good time to kind of regroup and go over questions and what challenges are you finding, all that kind of stuff. So shoot questions at me, and we'll kind of go from there. I did post the trend catcher rules. I will put them up in the forum as well. I want to go over the video actually before I post it because I want to see what rules ended up for sure in the training. On the rules, we talked about so many, and we tried to keep it to the simplest ones that you guys could take it basically out of the box, trade, and be successful. So I want to watch them one fast before I post them so that I make sure that I have I think needs to be in here for the cheat sheet. Your rules that you can print out, have beside you, and bottom of the rules for now. I put some miscellaneous notes in there. Yesterday I started 2 links. One was for the 20 minutes, and I'm hoping you guys that are trading the 20 minutes will put your findings and go ahead and put whatever. And but I put what I used to do in the 20 minutes because I don't do them anymore so much. 5 minutes came along, but I was having great success with the 20 minutes. People don't like the 5 minutes. You found that they're just a little bit too fast for you, or they're just not your style or whatever. So I don't want to let the 20 minutes just fall in the dust. They're great. And it's really easy to just pull up the Apex template for the 5 minutes and use it, change the ranges to 20 minutes, change the brick size to at least 6. I've seen some different people use some different brick sizes for different instruments. And, you know, there is no right and wrong at this point. It's what works for you. Some people want it to flip faster. Some people want a definite trend in there before they jump in. No matter what fits, to tweak it to fit your style. And basically the same rules for the 20 minutes as I did the 5. And a note, though, that in the 20 minutes, the binary Apex Essentials has the pattern in the binary TC trend catcher. As the elite pattern, but if you want to apply the elite pattern in your 20 minutes, the 20 minutes are on the US, YM, ES, NQ, and TF, and you have to have the elite membership in order to utilize. I did put a post in the forum also how you can adjust the trend catcher settings in order to suit your trading style. Not very many settings that need to be adjusted. You never need to use the confirmation bar in the 5 minutes or the 20 minutes. It doesn't pay. By the time it confirms, your trade is done. You're looking for a small trend. Confirmation is not meant for the binaries at all, not for the 20 minutes or the 5 minutes. Maybe if you're going into a daily or an hourly, but What is a trend catcher? You can use just the trend catcher in that. And when you get the arrow, you follow the same rules that you do for the 5-minute binaries, except I started to say about the settings. There are just two settings that really apply to the binaries, and that is in the trend catcher. And those settings, I'm going to pull it up here. Those settings are right here. It's showing up funny on my screen here. Come on. Okay. The trend measurement period, you can either have it set for 10 or 15, and the smoothing number of ticks you can set for 0 or 1. Those are the only two settings you should need to mess with at all. I like mine set at 10 and 0 because it flips faster. You can set either one to 15. I mean, you can set it to 15 or 10, and you can set the smoothing to 0 or 1. The 15 or the 1, either one of those, flips a little faster. Flips a little slower. What am I saying? It flips a little slower, so you can filter out just a little bit of chop. And what I want to show you by that is, in this one right here, if you were in the 20-minute binary and you had this trend measurement set to 15 and possibly 1, I tried to pull up a chart and have those settings, but for some reason, it's just, I guess my computer must be tired or something. It does not want to pull another chart up. It's having issues this morning. So it might have filtered out this right here where you're going up and it confirmed and went down, but this red bar did not match this green bar. It touched it and it went down. It might have filtered this out, and I really was trying to put a chart up so we could see if it did. But I like to show all my entries as fast as they appear, and then I filter them out myself. So that's why I have mine set to 10 and 0. I believe the defaults in the template are 15 and 1, if I'm not mistaken. So those are the only two settings you should need to mess with at all. Always leave the confirmation to false, and then none of this matters. And nothing else really matters for the binaries, because you cannot use the this thing at the bottom where it shows you the stats. That never applies to binaries at all, because they don't take into account the time, the expiration time, and that it could bounce around and bounce back, and it does not take into any of that into effect. Okay, Nate just said the template is at 10 and 0, I think. Okay, thanks. I think that I can't remember what it is. I know I re-defaulted mine, so I don't really know what it is. What's the best time to enter a trade at the 5-minute binary level? Within the first, is the faster you can get in from the start of the trade, the better off you will be. Should you enter the trade that offers the most profitable spread available to capture? Oh, I basically, it's getting harder and harder to get an out of the money strike, I'm finding. So I am just basically, for me, I'm just going for the closest out of the money I can. Say it's at 45. Well, that's really at the money, but I'm going for it. I just go for for me, other people have been going at the money and in the money, and they're having luck. I just personally don't like to put that much at risk in a 5-minute when they can turn around and get you. Something I like to watch for is there a strike? they'll move around, and if there's not been anything good in the first couple minutes of the 5 minutes, say you're maybe in the third minute, and it's already moved some and moving back, and I like to look at that point. I'll look at, okay, say I'm at, at least this is TF. Okay, let's look at UJ. Say the underlying is at 117.52. Well, I might look and see if I can find something really cheap that's only one tick or two ticks away, and it will only have to move a very little bit to actually be, get you a whole lot of money. So that's what I kind of watch for. If I'm not able to catch it right away in the beginning, there just isn't a good setup in the first 5 minutes. See, in this setup where it's 10 and 0, again, we have this, it's a down bar, and it hit this little red line, so it did confirm, but it went right back up. And that's kind of what we mean in this method 1, where the close of the bar must match the trend catcher direction. Well, you're not always waiting till close, but if the bar, for example, in the one we were just looking at right here, if it went down and that would have painted that red arrow the minute it hits that. But if the bar is going the other direction, I'm not going to be so anxious to get in. I mean, you want it to stay the color that the trend catcher direction is going, because if it bounces down and hits it, then you don't want that trade. Can I explain the green and red lines that move along the bars, and why are they flat sometimes while the bars are up and down? These green and red lines are actually the trend catcher line. This is your trend catcher line. This is what the whole thing's all about. They go flat until they are flat starting out until they have a reason to go up or down. For example, this one, you had your arrows. You've got the trend catcher starting to go green, but you never had any upward motion, so it never went green. So it just stayed flat. In this case, it started, the trend catcher goes off this lowest point. It confirmed up here, so it is going to be flat while this is getting its bearings, but then bang, it takes off as it rises. Does that help, Adnan? Do I wait until a confirmation? I'm not, okay, hang on. I'm waiting for a question here. Even though you don't wait for confirmation bar to close to enter, you enter when the confirmation appears. I enter, okay, yes, no, that for an answer. Okay, for example, and I'm just telling you what I do. It's not necessarily right or wrong, or you might find something different. But for example, this went up, it hit this confirmation, and it came down. So probably most of this bar would have been red while it's forming. I don't know this because it's a diagnostic bar, so I don't know this for sure. If I was in this trade, I probably would have, when it closed down, I probably would have been looking to get out. But anyway, when it was on this bar, and I see that I've got a bar and a green trend catcher and a red bar, I'm thinking that's chop. That's the start of chop. So I personally am not going to enter another trend catcher until I won't enter another entry until I see this chop clearing out. And I don't want to see a bunch of flat lines. I want to see something actually starting to move. And like in any of these, you had 4 bars and it changed. 4 bars, yeah, you could have made a profit in some of these. But by the time, for example, this one, it's on the 3rd bar, well, you're getting a few more bars in here, but you're getting close to the top of the range on this one. I wouldn't have taken this. and then you're getting closer to the end of the 5 minutes probably as well. And then you've got your chop again. You've got 2 red, a few green, a couple green, and in this one you're getting more. But look, you've got a lot of volume. You had a lot of volume in here, but not a lot of. This would have actually been an okay one probably, but um, I'm going to wait until I see, for example, after this run has happened, I'm going to think, okay, we're getting out of that chop a little bit, so I'm more likely to take the next one up, even though it happened at the very end. It happened at the very end of the 5 minutes on this one. Well, I'm probably going to take it for the next one. I have short bars here, short timer bars. I finally get a yellow, which means that's a 0-second bar. That bar took not 1 second to form. It's a 0-second bar if it's yellow. So I'm going to wait until I'm out of this chop. So I personally don't care what these arrows say. I'm not going to be looking for every single arrow to get in. You can maybe take a trade every 5 minutes. That doesn't mean you should. So when I start to see, this is my first clue, you got chop coming on, is you've got a red candle that completed and a green arrow. Now, you wouldn't have necessarily known that one was coming because you had a nice little red trend going here, and you might think, okay, it's going to reverse, so you've got a nice little uptrend. Okay, probably would have got caught in this one myself, but it had exceeding volume. It had nice little bar timers. Did it? Or did it? 6.93, maybe not. But anyway, this bar here took a long time to form. So that's your cyan, and that's telling you to stay out then. So it would not have been a valid trade because this bar took a long time to form. So then at that point, you see this red and green. That's telling me chop's coming up. I wait till the chop's finished, and I might miss a trade or two, but I would much rather wait till that chop's finished and then start playing again. Let's see. Looking at the questions here. After the chop is finished, would you enter long as soon as the confirmation bar was confirmed green? Well, you don't really know in this case. I don't know when the chop's finished until it's finished. If that makes any sense. So I would have probably, myself, I probably would have missed this one. I did have really good volume. Would have been a good trade. And, we've got a lot of chop in here. How do I know this is done? Personally, I don't. I would have waited probably until this one was done, and then the next arrow I get hop in, because the chop's probably done. That's the way that I filter out chop. That's why the settings are set to 10 and 0. So I get all the arrows. I want to get in as quickly as I can. I don't want to wait for the flip myself. I want to get in as fast as I can to catch that move before it's starting to change directions. But I kind of filter chop myself. That's how I do it. I look at if we just have a few bars and it's continuing, few up, few down, stay away. After the chop is finished, would I enter long as soon as the last screen? After the chop's finished, I would enter long. Absolutely. Now this is 16:29, so this was the last minute. We couldn't have entered this one because it was right at the end of the last one. But we still have at 16:31. Okay, so it's 31. I would have went ahead and went in. We still have short bars here. We still have exceeding volume. So I would have went ahead and went in. It's kind of a little bit of that in between. But the last arrow happened at the end of one, so I would kind of count that as taking the flip, even though it was in the next bar. It was right at the tail end on that one. Yes, the cyan arrow is the indicator to get the trade ready. Then enter the trade once the green or red arrow generate. Exactly. When you see that cyan arrow, pull your tickets, get them ready. And another tip on getting in so you don't miss it, say you have your tickets pulled, well, for this 5 minutes in here because this one is at that tail end and you really can't get in. So you're going to get in the next 5 minutes, which is right here in this one. You want to get in. Oh, come on. Okay, now it's frozen on my side. I don't know what it looks like for you. Okay. Well, for heaven's sakes. A little trouble here. Okay, so I'm going to have a ticket pulled and get ready to get in. When I get this arrow, the price may be at, say, it's going up fast, and when the thing opens, it's at the out of the money one might be at, just for an example, $25. Well, it's going to move fast if you've got a good trend. So I want in that. I feel like there's going to be a good trend going up. I want in, so I might use that particular strike. And instead of putting my price right where it is, I might say, well, I'm going to set my price for maybe $35 and get in as fast as I can. It's always going to give you the best price. If that would happen to go down just a little bit right as your ticket was executing, you might get in at 23, even though you put 35 in. If it goes up, as long as it doesn't pass your price you put in, you're going to get in at whatever the best price is you can get in, but you won't miss it. And then immediately set your take profit so that you can, get your profit and get the heck out. Another question. Are most of my trades entered at the current price, or do I always leave room? It just varies. Probably most of mine are entered at the current price, but I'd say maybe half and half. But adding a buffer is great, and that's even when you take profit. You set that take profit immediately. I have probably 1/4 of the time when I set my take profit for $15. If I'm really in a good trend, it'll actually give me $25 or whatever because it gives you the best price. So, and that happens with taking a profit as well. I mean, just get that profit in and get the heck out of Dodge. And if it's taking a while for it to hit your profit, then sometimes I'll set my profit lower because the trend's going away. If it's not hitting your profit immediately, then you're losing your trend. You're losing your momentum. And that's what this is all about. You want to get in on momentum. So sometimes I set my take profit down if it's taken a long time. Because if there's not momentum, you really don't want to be in that trade. You want to get in on momentum, going one way or the other. Is UJ the best of the four? That just depends on, that's a personal preference. I like UJ, and I can only concentrate on one at a time because it never fails. If I watch all four, I pull up a ticket for EU when I'm actually watching AU or something. So I find that I like one, and UJ has been good to me, so I stick with one market most of the time. But when you're first starting out, that's totally up to you. If you want to watch all four or just two or whatever. And Nate says he's noticed the pricing for EU is a little better, but it's totally dependent on how well you know what you're trading. Okay, I agree with you, Nate. It's totally a independent individual, what works for you. Retracement. Kurt said you mentioned to wait for retracement in the trade room. How often do you wait for it? Using the trend catcher, I don't. Using the trend catcher, I pretty much just get in. If you're in if you have momentum, you really don't want to wait or lose your momentum. So if you've got momentum, you need to get in and run with it. Check this out. It might be set to low. My voice is going away. I'm staying really close to my mic. Is anybody else having an issue with my voice, the volume changing? Okay. Okay. I don't know what to tell you, Adnan. Only fades when I turn my head. I think I'm keeping it really close. Yeah, I've got a few little distractive issues here this morning that I'm trying, since it's raining, trying to deal with. It could be your headphone. I don't know. Oh, well, good, Gary. I hope that helped. What profit target do I shoot for? During the day, I go for, I love one-to-one, yes. I always want to go for one-to-one, but it's not always possible. So I try to, during the day, if I am doing 5 minutes, I prefer, I always go as far out of the money as I can, but not too far. That makes sense, huh? I try to go for it. My ultimate would be $25 risk and $25 profit. I try to get as close to that as I can, but if you're looking at like at night, I don't go for that much profit because it's slower. So I want to get my profit and get out, because it doesn't take much to get you up to that profit, but it also doesn't take much to move you back. So the first bullet under method 1 states close of the bar must match. Is that the confirmation bar? Really what that means is that is a situation like this, where you've got a red arrow, you've got a green bar, and you don't wait necessarily for the confirmation bar or for the bar to close. So you really don't know exactly where it's going to close always, but if your bar is going green, geez, I'd be hesitant to take it. And the close of the cyan, the bar with the cyan arrow, yes, always has to match. And I'm pretty sure, since you had an cyan arrow on that, I'm pretty sure it always will, but I could be wrong there. I don't know, but you really don't want, like, if you get into the, let's say you got into this trade before it went green, it hung down here for a while and then it went up and went green. If you found yourself in this trade, if you had a place to get out, I'd be getting out. What I'm saying is, it's not a good sign to have a red confirmation arrow and a green bar. That's what that was really all about. That first one is, it's really not as much closing in that direction, but it is. If you're near the end of the close of the bar when it hits the confirmation, but it's the wrong color, well, you don't want to take it. I normally don't like to risk more than 50. I have, but can the 5 minutes be back tested? You can't really know the strikes, and after you do it for a while, you will get a feel for if it would have won or not. If it moves 2 ticks, it's going to get you $20 at least every time. Sorry. Okay, my mic's not staying on. That's the one way you can back test it, is if you see it move 2 ticks, it's going to get you $20. But that's about the best thing you can do. What changes can you do for the 20 minutes? As far as what changes can you do, meaning changes to the template or changes to trading? changes to the rules or the templates, indicator-wise. It's the same as the 20. I'm sorry, it's the same as the 5. You can make those 2 adjustments, which I've listed in the forum. And those are really the only 2 changes that I would make. Everything else still applies. You're going for a momentum scalp is basically what you're doing with the 20 minutes also. 3 ticks or 6. You put at least 6 ticks in for the 20 minutes. And I've seen people go with 8, and I've seen people go with 14. It just kind of depends. Sorry, Kurt. Yeah, we had a little distraction here. I had to shut the mic off, and then it wouldn't want to stay on. Method 1 or 2. Method 1 or 2 for what? Oh, are most of my trades method 1 or 2? Most of my trades are probably 2. I tend but at night it does. You don't get as when I'm trading these at night, you don't get as many arrows, so you've got to go more in between. I do the 5 minutes at night more than I do in the daytime because I'm doing more. Time to trade 5 minutes. My favorite time is in the morning. It's the top chart here is the TF 20-minute ranges. I'm not sure why they overlapped. Oh, that's because this all happened in 1 minute. Wow, that was, oh yeah, 0-second bars. That's why that overlapped there. Your ranges won't always look nice and neat when you're doing diagnostic bars, because this was the very last candle of the 20 minutes. But this was too. This was all within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 0-second bars, and a red bar is like nothing. How many hours do you trade at night, and what's your average number of trades per night? I generally don't trade more than about 2 hours a night, and I have no idea what my average trades are per night, because some nights I can sit down and I can trade, and other nights I am just answering questions and I don't trade much, and other nights I am up running outside to see what I need to take care of here on my farm, ranch, whatever you want to call it. Does the bar range indicator help me make a decision? Not really. It just tells me when I have to how much it has to move in order for a new bar to be formed. So while I'm waiting, if it gets slow and I'm waiting for my take profit to hit, I know about where it has to go for the next bar and 1 bar, and I'm going to have my take profit. Do I prefer volume to exceed or velocity? That's a good question. I'm more of a bar timer person. I'm looking closer at my bar timer than I am anything else. I want to know that if you look, well, I'm going to use this 20-minute one for an example. You had a lot of little tiny bars. That is pretty good. That's fabulous for a trend. And then they're starting to take longer. And look, this is taking longer, and what happens? It changes shortly after it starts to take longer. And then you start to get some bigger bars. And when you have big bars, a lot of times you've got chop. If you look through here, you've got the bigger bars, and it's choppier. And so I'm looking through this part here. You've got some really tiny bars. Can't even see them because it's so squished. And they're mostly little, though. You've got a couple bigger ones, a little bit bigger. But I'm a bar timer girl. I like my bar timer the best. That's probably what I watch the most. My next would be volume, and the last would be velocity. Because if you're getting those yellow bars on the velocity, there's no way you're going to be able to get in there. And so I don't watch the velocity a whole lot. I like the bar timer. It's each bar individually. Where the velocity is telling you where the market is going. I mean, how fast the market is going. The bar timer is telling you just that one bar. Do I still enter only if the volume exceeds if the bar timer? Usually, if the bar timer takes less time, I'm still looking at volume. And for me, sometimes I will jump in anyway, but I've done a lot of scalping, so it's better if you're not a real experienced scalper to stick with the always have exceeding volume. But just because the bar timer is less than 3 minutes doesn't mean I'm going to jump in either. I mean, I want it, like if it's, 30 seconds consistently, I'm going to jump in even if I don't have volume. But just because it's less than 3 minutes, if I don't have volume, no, I want volume if it's, a minute to a minute and a half. If it's getting kind of big, the bar timer's taking a little bit longer, yeah, I'm going to have some volume. The entry rules are the same for 20 minutes as they are for the 5 minutes. For scalping, I still risk no more than 5 minutes on average, or no more than $50 on average. That's my my comfort zone. But I know that Daryl will go at the money more, and John likes in the money. So that's just my own personal preference. And I know that we had another trader who was having great success with these, and she found that if she entered within the first minute, she had the most success. So that's something to kind of, I've been watching for her little 1, 2, 3s, what she likes, how she likes to do it, what she's had success with. And so far, that's one I've taken away from her comments, is that she likes to enter it right away in the first minute. Adnan said the bar timer is just the opposite of velocity. Can you just use one? It is not just the opposite of velocity. Absolutely, it is not. And no, I would not just use one. The bar velocity, the way you read it are the opposites. The bar timer, a short bar means it's quick to form. The bar velocity, the higher, the taller the bar, the faster it is. But that does not mean they're opposites. They are not at all opposites. They're actually, they coordinate with each other. One gives you the speed of the market, and one gives you the speed of the bar, which is a little bit different. How late into the 5 minutes do I enter a trade? Well, like I said, the one trader that has just had a really lot of luck, she enters within the first minute, tries to stay with, no later than 2, and that's where she has the best luck. I prefer to stay within 3 if I can, but sometimes I'll even go in the last minute, and when I'm writing, and it's like an expiration trend collection I'll do in the last minute, and that I wouldn't really recommend too much unless you really do it a lot, or you're doing it in demo, practice it a lot first. Seems that when you're still unclear of when to enter on a valid method 1 confirmation bar. Seems when it confirms and trying to catch your direction, the price is in the money. Yeah, if it is, take the lowest in the money. I mean, if you're a demo it, see how it works for you. It may be that it may be great. I've noticed that it does tend to go in the money quickly, and you really have to be. For me, if it's going too far in the money, I'm just not going to take it. But I have been taking more in the money because that's sometimes the only choice you have. They move so quick. Another question coming here. Do I pay attention to the bar ranges and other pivot levels? Absolutely. I love putting, and I used to have them on here. I took them off just to make my charts match what you guys see. I like the day trading plans on here. I also have on the high and low, the open and close, and the high and the low of the day. As it does bounce, it bounces off the range levels. If you look, there's not really good examples in here, but it gets to the top of the range and it comes back down. And we even had really good volume here. Look at this big, huge volume. We had the bar timers. These weren't taking long at all to form. They went very quickly, and it still went to the top of the range and back down. I would not take generally speaking, I would not take a trade into the top or bottom of a range. And I do watch those pivot levels because they'll bounce off things. And a bounce is all you need. Okay, Gary says, I notice sometimes I take out of the money and set profit at 20 and it gets 15 and goes against me. This happens when the volume is so. Yep, I've had that happen. That's why a lot of times I change. If the volume isn't real whippy, I'll just go for 15. I mean, I'm a big take the money and run. I'd rather have a lot of little profits than wait, hold out, and go for the big ones. Yep, base hits, Nate says. I find that, if I have a good trend going, I can almost always get the 15. But, it depends on the time of day and the volume. If I've got everything is just storybook setup, I'm going to go for 35 or 40. But otherwise, if it's just a typical setup, I'm just going to stick with the 15, 20, depending on the time of the day. At night, I don't try to get more than 15. Adnan asks, do we still use the 3-minute time forming for the bar in the 20 minutes? Do we change that to 6 minutes? No, you still use the 3 minutes in a 20-minute also. If a bar takes longer than 3 minutes to form, I don't care what your expiration, you are losing your trend, and you want to trend in the 20 minutes just as much as you want to trend in the 5. So, yeah, if it's taking longer than 3 minutes in the 20s, it's the same thing. Just because it's a larger brick size does not mean that you want to make it take longer or you want to let it take longer. 3 minutes, you're still going to lose your 6 might take longer, yeah, but you're going to need a bigger movement in the 20 minutes in order to take your profit than you do in the 5 minutes. It might take you 3 ticks. It's all in perspective. It might take you 3 ticks to get $15. I don't really know anymore. I don't remember. Sorry, it's been a while since I've actually played with the 20 minutes, but I was doing 20 minutes exclusively before the 5 hit, and I absolutely loved them. I started trading 5 minutes the day after they went live, and they've been live for, about a month. something like that. A little more, a little less, something, a little more maybe. I go at the money on 20 minutes because I want it to move as fast as I can. So I go at the money on 20, and I do not set a stop loss. Somebody asked me that yesterday. When I was doing 20 minutes, I found that a lot of times it would go against me at the money. I might get in at 50, it'd go down to 30, and I would always say, I'm going to get out if it goes 20 or 25 against me. I found that after doing it enough, it really worked better to leave it in, leave it alone. I lost less. It would come back and win more times than if I would just bail out and take only a $20 or $30 loss. It turns right back around. Yes, it does. And I had more winners if I made more overall if I just left them alone. And I'd put the trade in, literally set my take profit, and move on. I wouldn't even look back at it because, for one thing, it's nail biting sometimes, and that drives me crazy. But I would just put my trade in and move, look for the next one. Because I just did not. I didn't want to be tempted to get out, and I'm really kind of bad about bailing. So, at the money, yes, at the money for 20s for me all the time. Method 2, if I get volume confirmation, you don't wait for the bar to close. No, I don't wait for the bar to close. If I do look at the previous bar, it has to be going in my direction. I want a reason to get in. The bar before me the bar before the one that I'm looking at to enter on had to be in the same direction as the trend catcher. And if I have exceeding volume and my bar timer is looking good, I'll jump in and go for whatever amount of dollars I think the market will warrant me at that time. But no, I don't wait for the bar to close. I'm losing precious momentum if I do that. Wow, the questions are slowing down. Sun. Great movement if you've had some news. Market is moving some, but that's why I like UJ, because I only like to, for me, I prefer to trade the pairs that have at least one desk open. For example, during the U.S. session, I'm going to trade something that has USD in it. And at night, I want to trade the JPY is open, and so is AUD. So those are the two that I like to trade at night. Wow. Adnan's out of questions. I think that's a first. Okay, we got just a little bit more time. If anybody's got a last question here. If I miss some questions, please throw them at me again, because I'm trying to catch them all. As a newbie, would I suggest starting with 5 or 20? Well, that's kind of hard to say because I don't know your trading personality. I would say 20. I mean, I would say 5. That's my favorite. So I don't know. On method 2, the previous bar acts as a confirmation bar, qualifying the bar to enter. Yes, it does. Absolutely. When you're doing method 2, the confirmation bar is the bar before your entry bar. Wayne, I actually don't do all that many trades in the 5 minutes. I would prefer to watch for my setups and do fewer, better trades and put a quantity of more in at a time myself. That's just my trading style. Which instrument to use in the 20s? It is all the U.S. indices. I have that little note right down here on the chart because I get that question a lot. So it's the 20-minute in U.S. indices, YM, ES, and Q and TF. They start at 9:40, and the last expiration is at 4 o'clock. Can you do oil not on a 5-minute, not on a 20? No, you cannot. Those are the 20 minutes, or it's just those 4 pairs of Forex that I put in the Elite Room every day on my charts. And which is preferred from my experience of what? 5-minute, 20-minute, which indice, which Forex pair on the 20s? Probably my favorite is TF. Well, or YM. That's just because I've done them more. I'm not saying those are better. That's just been my experience with them, and I'm only one trader. I think Nate will probably argue with me on that one. He likes probably ES best. Nate says he wouldn't argue. It's truly dependent on you as a trader. Yes. I love when Nate's in the room with us, when I'm in the room in the pit, because Nate has a different outlook on trading than I do, and he has different markets that he's familiar with, so he will give you different opinions, and different opinions are always good. So that's why I always, always, always recommend you never trade alone. Always be in the pit when you're trading so you can throw questions out or even just read what other people are throwing out, because they have good tips and tricks, and they might run into something that if you're by yourself, it may take you a long time to find that particular issue, and you might wonder, well, why is this not working? And if you had been in the pit, you might have read that, for example, when Max came in and said she enters in the first minute, prefers in the first minute, minute and a half, then you might have found that if you try that, then you might find that works for you better. Sometimes you only have to choose between 2 strikes. Yes. Sometimes you only have to choose between 2 strikes because one's gone out so quickly. Yeah, and you just go with whatever seems to fit at the moment. I mean, you don't always have the perfect setup. You don't always have the perfect anything. So, it's just, whatever works at that particular time. And Nate says, and see what you're drawn to. I so agree with that, because just because my success has been with these limited, I have limited, for the moment, I have limited computer ability to bring up charts. So I have I've always used very limited number of charts. I prefer to learn one market, learn it well, and so I just haven't expanded and tried a lot of different ones. But, lots of different opinions are really, really good. So is Is there any other questions? And did I mention that I think you should be in the pit when you're trading? I just think that's really important to. I mean, there's people in the pit, not 24 hours a day probably, but really early in the morning until pretty late at night, on and off, and lots of different opinions, lots of different things you're going to find out, and it's not always just me. I mean, sure, people get tired of hearing me, and yeah, sometimes at night I'll go in the elite room and actually get mic'd up and that you need help with, ask. I'm more than happy to try to help if I can, and if I can't, somebody probably can. Far away it is from the underlying, what the price is. If anybody has any one last question, I'll take it. There are 3 strikes, so do we go for the top buy and the bottom strike? Doesn't necessarily mean go for the top or the bottom. It's just a matter of your personal trading preference. Whichever strike you feel comfortable with. My voice went out for a bit again. I don't know. I mean, okay. I think that'll wrap it up. And have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody.